Hello everyone, this is Kenneth Hollins with hollinsmusic.com and mykeyboardconnection.com. Thank you so much for taking the time to view this video. Today I wanted to share with you a few tips that I believe will help you as a gospel musician. And what I'm going to do is show you some different things that you can do with your left hand. A pretty big challenge that many musicians have is, what do I do with my left hand, or how do I incorporate my left hand with my right hand? And so it's a challenge that many musicians have. Exactly what should I do with my left hand, or how can I strengthen my left hand? So today I'm going to share with you 4 different approaches that you can take when playing a particular song. 4 different approaches with your left hand that you can take. Okay, so now the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to play a standard chord progression, and then I'm going to go back and play that same progression, but I'm going to approach that particular progression in 4 different ways with my left hand. Okay, all right, let's jump right in. Now this is the chord progression. Okay, this is the progression. It's a real standard type of progression, nothing fancy. Now, let me break it down for you so you can know exactly what I'm playing. Now, I'm starting with F major 7, and then I'm going to E minor 11, and then to A dominant 7, sharp 5, sharp 9, then D minor 11, C minor 9, F 13, B flat major 7, A minor 7, D minor 11, G minor 11, C suspended 9. Okay, so those are the chords. Now, in terms of the chord numbers, where the roots are moving, all right, we're in the key of F. And of course, F would be 1, G2, A3, B flat is 4, C is 5, D is 6, E is 7, and back to the 1 again, okay? So in terms of the chord numbers, I'm moving like this. 1, F is on the 1. I'm looking at the roots of the chords. All right, and then we go to the 7, which is E. The root is E here. A is 3. The root is A. D is 6. C is 5. F is 1. B flat is 4. A again, which is 3. D again, which is 6. G, which is 2. And then C, which is the 5. Okay? So we move from 1, 7, 3, 6, 5, 1, 4, 3, 6, 2, 5. Okay? Real standard thing. Nothing fancy at all. But what I want to show you is the different approaches that I can take with my left hand playing this standard progression. Okay, let's take the first way. Now, say for example, and I'm going to give you different scenarios that you possibly could use these different approaches to playing. Say for example, you're on the piano or you're on the keyboard, and it's just you and a drummer, okay? And you are playing a song that's similar to this. One approach could be where you take the chords of the song and play the chords with your right hand, and then simply play the bass note or the root of the chord with your left hand, okay? So it would be something like this. Okay? So that's one valid approach to playing with the left hand. You're just simply playing the root of each chord. Okay, real simple. Okay. Now, playing like that is actually favorable depending on the situation. You may be in a position where you actually have two different keyboards, and maybe one keyboard you have a particular piano sound that you like. On the other keyboard, you could have a bass sound or a bass guitar sound that you like. In that instance, it would work real well just to play only the roots of the chord. Okay, you could play with your left hand, play those notes on the keyboard that's dedicated to the bass sounds. Okay, and you can isolate the different sounds to make it sound a little bit more authentic. Okay, now that's one approach. Now another way that you could do it is somewhat the same thing, but take more of a rhythmic approach in terms of your left hand. Now this is what I mean. For example, let's take the same progression. Okay. All right. Now I basically played the same progression, the 1 7 3 6 5 1. I did basically the same thing, but I added more rhythm. I added a few more notes, and basically what I tried to do was to approach my bass line or the notes that I'm playing with my left hand like an actual live bass player. Now that's an approach that many musicians take, is where the notes with your left hand, you try to create the feel and the groove of an actual live bass player. And it really does, it lifts the song. It actually makes it sound more like how it would sound on an album if you approach it like that. So, and real simple, all I'm doing is I'm playing the roots of the chords, but I'm also playing leading tones. And by leading tones, I mean half steps that take you to the roots. Okay, so let's look at it real quickly. So this is root, 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 root. And when I say root, I mean the root or the bottom note of the chord. Root, 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 root. So those are the roots. Okay, so let's look at those like target notes. Those are the notes that we're targeting. All right, so now I have a root. Now I'm going to use leading tones to the root. And let's listen to what this sounds like. Root, leading tone to the 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 root. Okay, now I did it on every note. Normally you wouldn't do it on every single note. You would mix it up. But I just wanted you to see the principle of the leading tone moving to the root. So it would be something like this. Sometimes I'll do it, sometimes I won't. Okay, that gives you somewhat of a a bass approach, a actual live bass guitarist approach to your bass line. Now let's add a little bit more. Another thing that you could do is you could play octaves to emulate bass players slapping the strings like this. Okay, now another thing that I do is I play what's called ghost notes. Now ghost notes are notes that you play that are not, the purpose of the ghost note is not for the actual note itself, but it's for the feel or the rhythm that that particular note creates, okay? Let me see if I can demonstrate this for you. A ghost note would be something like this. Okay, do it again. Now, I don't know if you noticed it, but before I played the F, notice what I'm doing. Okay, da-da. Now, the main note is the F, but I put a note right before that. And to be honest about it, it really doesn't matter what that note is because it's not about that particular note. It's about the feel that that note is creating. Okay? It's almost like you really can't even distinguish what that particular note is in terms of what sound it was or the pitch. But it's more so about the rhythm. Ba-da, ba-doom, ba-da, 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 like that. So those are ghost notes, and those are things that you may want to try to incorporate with your left hand in terms of creating a bass line or making it sound like an actual live bass player. So let me see if I can demonstrate with the leading tones, the octaves, the ghost notes, putting all that together to try to give you a live bass player type feel with my left hand. Okay, so let's put it all together. Okay, it's real simple concepts, but that is another way you can approach your left hand when playing a particular song. Okay, and it works real well when you if you're in a position to do so, to play that on a separate keyboard, or if maybe you possibly may have a keyboard split where you can play piano or electric piano sounds to your right up top, and then you can play bass sounds to the left. That way you can get more of an actual real bass sound. Okay, so that's the second way you can approach your left hand when playing. Okay, let me give you a third way you can approach playing with your left hand. Say, for example, you say, well, I don't want to separate my sounds. I just want to play one particular sound, and I don't only want to play one note with my left hand. Now, this is another approach, is where you can play the chords like this, somewhat of how I demonstrated the progression. Okay, what am I doing? Now, I'm playing the chords with my right hand, and I'm also playing the bass note with my left hand, but I'm also adding notes with my left hand to make the chords fuller. Okay, so notice I'm playing the root here, which is F, the root here, which is E, the root here, which is A, the root, which is D. Okay, so the point is I'm playing the roots with my left hand, but I'm also incorporating other notes with my left hand to try to fill up the sound and make it a little fuller. Okay, and one thing that I try to do as a piano player, as a keyboardist, even as an organist, what I try to do is when I play chords, I try to find voicings. And when I say voicings, I mean just an arrangement of the notes that I'm playing, the way you arrange the notes within the chord. That's called a voicing. So I try to voice the chords to where it's rich, it's full, and it's not too high, it's not too low. And I'm looking for what I call the sweet spot of that particular chord, where I'm getting a nice, rich, full sound that is just right. Okay, and you just use your ear to let you know what works or what doesn't. All right, so for example, I'm using this voicing or this arrangement of notes for the first chord. Okay, and let me break it down for you just so you can know what my voicings are. Okay, now I'm using this for F major 7. All right, now I'm using F, C, G, A. I'm doing that with my left hand, and my right hand is C, E, A, C. All right, that's my first voicing. All right, then I move here. All right, this is the E minor 11 chord. Now, the first chord I played was F major 7. This is E minor 11. Okay, now the voicing I'm using is E, B, F sharp, G, A, B, D, F sharp, and A. Okay? And I can hear what you want. I can hear you. I can hear what you're thinking. Some of you probably thinking, okay, well, how do you even know to do that? You know, what made you even know to play it like that? Okay, Let me let you know where that comes from. Now, after you know what the notes of the chords are, say for example, you're playing, let's say for example, you're playing a chord like this. Okay, and you say, well, that's okay, but I really want to make it fat. I want to stretch it out. I want to make it sound big and rich. How can I do that? Now, this is one way you can do that. Look at the notes that are within the actual chord itself. Okay, let's look at all of the different notes that we have. We have an F, an E, a G, an A, and a C. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 notes. Okay, let me position it like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so this is my note palette. This is what I have to work with. I can work with the F, the G, the A, the C, and the E. Okay, so now my job as the piano player is to try to come up with a way to play these five notes rather in a way where it sounds good. It's a nice voicing. It's flavorful. It's rich. It's clear. It's not too thin. It's not too muddy. It's not too low, but just right. Okay. And one way to do that is through experimenting. All right. Let's see what we can come up with. I could play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can play these 5 notes. I could try this. And maybe that's one way. That's my F. That's my G. That's my E. That's my C. I have C twice. This is my, and so I have those 5 notes. Or I could try that. Or maybe I could try, that. I could try a number of things. It's just a matter of experimenting and seeing what sounds good to me. So to answer the question, how did I come up with those voicings? Sitting down and experimenting. You'll be surprised at what you can find when you just sit down and experiment. Okay? So I would encourage you to do that. Take the chords that you know and see if you can come up with new voicings from those particular chords. All right, so again, my voicings are, it was the first one, that was the second one, and then we go here. A, G, C, C sharp, F, A, and then we go here. D minor 11, D, A, E, F, G, A, C, E, G, then C minor 9, C, E flat, B flat, D, E flat, G, F13, F, E flat, A, D, G. All right, so now at that point, I then go to B flat major 7, and the voicing that I'm using is B flat, F, A, C, D, F, and A again. Okay? Notice how I'm playing B flat and F with my left hand. And then I go to A minor 7, which is simply A and G with the left hand, C, E, G, and C with the right. And then we go here to the D minor 7 chord. I'm also including this G here. And the notes are D, F, G, A. Notice what I'm doing with my left hand. And then the C, F, A, and then C again. And then we go here. This is the G minor 11, which is G, D, F, A, B flat, C, D, and F. Okay, that's a cluster chord, cluster of notes. And then we go here to the C suspended 7. Actually C suspended 9th. I'm playing C, F, G, B flat with the left hand, and then the right hand is D, F, and C. Okay, so I want you to see how I'm voicing my chords and how I'm playing the bass note with my left hand, but I'm also including additional notes with my left hand to make the chord a little fuller. Okay. Now, the fourth way that you can approach playing with the left hand, or the fourth way that I'm showing you today, is you can take what I call rootless voicings. And basically, that's when you take the root of the chord off or the bass note of the chord off. So instead of me playing the first chord, F major 7 like this, I may choose to play it like this. Okay? Now, just notice I'm playing the exact same notes. Same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes, but I'm of course changing the voicing. And also notice that I don't have the F as my root. Okay, and I call those rootless voicings. Okay, so I'm just simply revoicing the chord and then leaving the root off. Okay, and then we go to the next chord. Okay, normally it would be like this, but I'm playing it as a rootless voicing here. Okay, and then if I keep going, okay. Now you may be wondering, well, don't I need the bass note or the root of the chord? Well, it depends on the circumstance that you're playing in, the situation that you're playing in. Say, for example, if I'm playing a song like this, and I do have a bass player, and he's playing the correct notes and playing with a nice groove or feel or whatever, then it would be advantageous for me to get out of his way in terms of playing the bass notes. You don't want two different bass lines going on at the same time. So in a situation like that, I would want the bass player to cover the bass notes. Okay, and so in that instance, I don't need to play the bass notes because the bass guitarist is playing those. Okay, so it would be great for me to play just rootless voicings while the bass player is covering the bass notes. Okay, and that gives space. Okay, that gives space. The way I think about playing piano, I think somewhat of I think from a production standpoint, and what a producer does in terms of albums and records and things like that. They try to put all the pieces together to make them work well together. You have to think about the whole thing. In your typical band, you'll probably have a pianist, an organist, a drummer, of course. You would have a bass player, a lead guitarist. You may have horns. You may even have auxiliary keyboards with different sounds like strings and bells, synth sounds, whatever. And you have to try to make all of that work together and complement one another without competing with each other. Okay, and you do that with the way the different instruments play together. You do that with the range that those instruments play in. Say, for example, if I have an organist and a piano player, the organist may play somewhat in this range here. Okay, now the piano player could play in that same range, but I generally try to play a little higher than what the organist would play. So if the organist is maybe in this octave here, in this area, as the piano player, I would move somewhat a little higher. Okay, now isolated, it may sound a little high, but when it's combined together, it actually sounds pretty good. Now, I'm not getting away from the point that I was making. What I'm saying is when you're playing with a bass player, you have a little bit more leeway where you can actually play up a little higher, and you can leave those bass notes off, and you can play rootless voicings. Okay, and so that's just something to think about. So those are the 4 ways that you can approach playing with your left hand. You can just simply play just one single root. You can play the root in a manner that's kind of similar to a live bass player. You can play left hand chords where you're playing the root and additional notes to fill up the chord, or you also can play rootless voicings where you're completely leaving the root out altogether for each chord. Okay, So I hope that was helpful. I hope that gives you something to think about and even something to practice on. And so if you enjoyed this lesson, please share it with a friend. Make sure you like it. And you always can go to our website, hollandsmusic.com. We have so many different resources that I believe will really help you and be a blessing to you. So again, thank you for this time.